Welcome to Invisible Glitter, the podcast for women aging with attitude and sparkles. I'm Sandy Parker, founder of the Pink Lady Posse, coach, cheerleader, and your connector in chief for whatever you need to go from what now to what's next. Each episode brings real stories of women rewriting their lives, leaving us with tools we can use and inspiration that motivates. Because your next chapter, it's not about winding down, it's about lighting up. And the most powerful glitter is the kind no one sees coming. Let's go. Welcome, everyone. I am with a woman that I really respect, and I call her a dear friend, and her name is Carolee Willoughby. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's a graphic artist. She's what you might say designer. She's 66 years old. She lives in Henryville, Indiana. And I met her in Bowie, Texas, where she lived for 36 years. And thank goodness our paths crossed before she went to Henryville, Indiana. She's into all things equine. In other words, she loves horses and everything about them. And she actually designs horse blankets. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Amazing. Then she had 40 years of her life with her recently deceased husband, Jim, who we all loved. But he's not just a horseman. He was in the NHRA Hall of Fame. He was the horseman. And y'all met in a stable, right?
Yes, we did.
Sure did. So, why do I want her here with me? Okay, you know your life. You're just swimming through life, and then you go, who is that? Well, when I met Carolee, it was like, who is that? And we were friends, but we weren't bosom buddies. We were just mutual respecters. Then she moved to Henryville, and I get a text from her every single day. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Anyway, welcome, Carolee. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Sandy. I appreciate you.
You are such a doll. And there's so much I want to say, but what I want to cover is times when we've gone from what now to what's next. Right? Doesn't life have those? Well, I want to start with one because you amaze me at how you fly under the radar. Like, I'm an extrovert, so I'm just out here doing it all. But over there with Carolee Willoughby is a force to be reckoned with. And you said your parents and Jim convinced you or encouraged you can do anything you want. So for the introverts out there, or the women who don't know how to navigate and under the radar and maintain their power, like, how do you do that? Can you describe it?
Well, I don't know that I can necessarily describe it. I don't seek attention. I don't want attention. I just want everything that I do. I just want to be able to do what I do and go about it quietly and hopefully make a difference. But I don't want anyone to really know that I'm doing it. I just want to just quietly go along. And by and large, because I'm not a very flashy person, women are not, how some women are very territorial or very, threatened by other women. I am not that threat at all. Most women kind of look at me and just feel very secure and comfortable with me because I'm just not a threat.
You're not scary.
No, I am not scary toward anything that they have, a spouse, a boyfriend, a career, anything. I'm just out to help and be a help.
I got that. But there's no doubt when you have something in mind, it's going to happen.
I'm stubborn and I have a bit of a hard head, which I got probably from both my mother and my father. And Jim, I don't think there was any man alive with any harder head than Jim Willoughby's. So, it was just, but the one thing, having the hard head is good. I mean, just this pushing forward, moving forward, not being dissuaded, but doing it with kindness, compassion, empathy, knowing when you're about to run over someone versus, and that's really why I think the introvert being able to do what I do the way I do, because I do have a hard head, I'm not disrupting. I'm not creating problems for people. I'm just moving forward.
Yeah,
And
but I sometimes feel like I'm that bull in a china shop, right? Like I'm all about it, moving everywhere, doing everything.
yes,
Meanwhile, over here is Carolee, and she's doing what she's doing, and there's no doubt about it. You are heading to a specific destination.
well, thank
I
you.
I love that about you. Now, we were talking about how you're uniquely gifted. You're a graphic designer. You're also have a beautiful lexicon. And so these texts that you send, tell me about you get up in the morning and you like draft a text and then you share it. I mean, what's that discipline or routine like? And then how did you start that and why do you do that?
Well, easy questions all. I actually do them the evening before.
Oh,
And I, I'm an avid, a voracious reader. Love to read. I will sit and have a bowl of cereal and read the cereal box while I'm eating my cereal or just it's just a constant thirst for knowledge and information. And so I'll come across things that seem like, well, that would make an excellent message to encourage the messages. None of them are political or hopefully not offensive to anyone
right.
because I send them to a wide variety of people individually every day, oftentimes with a tailored message to each person that might need a little tailored, hang in there, you've got my prayers, or you've got this today, happy birthday, happy anniversary, all those
Right.
sort of things. And how they started was when the pandemic started. I have a dear friend that I had worked with. Sarah is 30 years younger than I am.
Okay.
And I worked with her at one of the companies that I worked for freelance. And I would meet her on photo shoots and get to spend time with her. And just, the daughter I never had, the little sister I never had. And one day she called me and she said, Cara, my dad has COVID. And he was a marine biologist from um, up in the Northeast who would come to Texas every year and spend 6 months in Texas and then go back. And his family, wife, daughter, son, were all back there. And he caught COVID here in Texas. And all the things that all the horror stories you heard of COVID, people, kidneys failing, strokes, everything, all these things happened to him. And Sarah called me and she said, Cara, I know you pray and my dad needs your prayers. My family needs your prayers. Will you please pray for my dad? And explained everything. And so I said, of course I will. I will every day. And then I just thought, well, Sarah needs a little encouragement. She needs to know that I have said those prayers. So every night I just would send her a little emoji, a heart, a hug, just something. And then a few months later, of course, her dad just is getting worse and all the things, the organ failure, everything, nothing's working. And then my two dear friends, Gina Robinson and her husband Eddie, they caught COVID. And so I began sending them an emoji text, like with Sarah. And then from there, Sarah's dad passed away. So then I began actually writing a prayer to send. And so then I sent it to Gina and Eddie. And they're just more and more people just needed to be added to my daily list. And, deaths, sickness, just so many different things, divorces, problems with relationships. And so I don't ever expect anyone to answer. If they become a burden, I always tell people, if these are a burden to you, I will stop. And I don't want you to feel like you have to respond or reply only if you want to. But these are just my little hello. You're loved. You're cared about. You're prayed for. You're in my heart, on mine.
Well, and you know what's so crazy is I get those every day from you, and I go, what did I do to get in her world? Like, that was amazing. And I must say, you're a great writer or either a fantastic editor because they're not just, I'm praying for you, they're often written very well. And I love that. I love good writing and when things are expressed well. So, what I get from that is here you are, Carolee, being Carolee in the world as Carolee. Is there a better message for anybody than be who you are?
No, there's not.
That's amazing. Well, the other thing that I want to ask you about, and this is not, I'm a widow and you're a widow. You're a widow twice. And then Jim passed away in January of this year. And then I learned that you were a widow at 25 after 4 months of being married. So
I'm sorry.
it's okay. We can edit it out.
Okay. Didn't mean it. There we go. Sorry. I didn't think I would be getting any calls. I'm so sorry.
Our energy's pulling them in.
I guess so. But please go ahead. I'm so sorry.
So I'm a widow and you're a widow, and Jim passed away this January. But I learned that you were also married when you were 25 and a widow shortly thereafter. So, not to go in the whole heaviness of that, because I cannot imagine it, but how did you deal with that? And how did you keep from being angry at that young age? Like, how did you do that?
Well, we were married in January, and in April we found out he was ill, and he had been ill. We just didn't know. And it was just he had a positive attitude. I had a positive attitude. It was like, we're going to beat this. We're going to beat this. And so that was just what we did. We didn't ask how long. We didn't ask any of those questions. It was just, what can we do here?
Mhm.
And I think the rose colored glasses, this can't possibly happen at this age. And just the stubbornness of, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And up until that very day that he passed away, I knew there could be a miracle. I knew things could change in an instant. I read about it, and I just knew. And that morning, the day that Carrie passed away, I just kind of had a feeling something monumental was going to happen that day. And I kind of thought, you know what? It might not be the monumental thing that I want to happen. It may be something else that is equally monumental going home. And right then, as that thought crossed my mind, it's like, okay, you have two choices right now. You can feel sorry for yourself. You can be angry about the situation. Although, why? Whose fault is it? No one's, other than maybe a young man, blonde hair, blue eyed, went without his shirt too much and had a mole become malignant. But what do? You choose. And I just made up my mind right then and there. You are too young to choose anger and bitterness. And you can choose joy and you can choose gratitude and you can be thankful for the 2 years you had. And there are silver lining lessons to be learned from everything. God does work through the worst of things and gives gifts through the worst of things. And he did. I was so fortunate to learn lessons that most people don't learn until they're my grandmother's age. And those lessons were so valuable to see me through, life.
Okay, now you are 66.
Mhm.
You were 25. So
Yeah.
I know through life you've had the chance to revert back to anger. Like anger can raise its ugly head.
Mhm.
That decision you made has been maintained through these years.
Mhm. It is.
Just gotta take that in. So we're doing this, declare your independence.
Yeah.
One of the exercises we're gonna have is break up with something.
Mhm.
And one of the exercises is, what do you need to break up with for
Mhm.
life to be the way you want life to be? So
Mhm.
we'll be saying more about that at the end. I wanted to remind you that Dee Dee Khan, one of the original Best Ladies.
My favorite one.
Oh, she well,
Yes.
she sent me a message. She goes in her phrase, 60, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's her. Send me a pep talk and reminded me about the Pink Lady Pledge. You got to look cool, you got to be cool, and you got to act cool. And I'm like, okay, now when I saw the movie Grease, that was a totally different kind of cool than when I'm living in Bowie, Texas at 69.
Yes.
So I love to ask all my guests, what are some things that you think are cool? Cool.
Well,
You mentioned books.
like in relationship to myself or
Just
or
in general, you would say, that is cool. You talked about the bookstores.
yeah. Well, what's cool right now is I live on a country road and there's farmland all around me. And what is really cool is seeing these, and a lot of them are young men, they're not old men, driving down my road with their discs and their, seeding. And I can hear them working all around me, working the land and just an appreciation for what it yields and the smell of the dirt. Just I think that's really cool right now because I see these things, going down the road.
I
And
love that.
it's like just so cool. It's planting season and then in a few months there'll be all the equipment used to harvest will be going down the road.
Well,
And
do you have horses? Horses are
yes,
cool.
yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Uh-huh.
Oh my
My
gosh.
Phil is just Phil. I have a horse that he is just a soul. He has a soul. They all have souls, but Phil's is especially wonderful. As a young horse, he was pushed hard because he had a lot of physical potential and he was pushed so hard that they crippled him and he has never held a grudge. He has never held a grudge and he has just been He is, if a person could have a soulmate, it's fine.
Oh, that is great. You know what? I'm afraid of horses.
Oh no. Well, a lot of people are. They're large and they can be very intimidating.
You know, I think it was probably at a Girl Scout camp where they said, "Throw your leg over here and go," and he probably went, and I went, "I like horses." And I think, you know, I was probably, oh, the age of, 12, you know,
Well,
so but I do love these videos where I see people who are either ill or struggling, and they somehow have this thing with a horse, and it resolves something for them.
horses are very sensitive to our emotions and how we're feeling. Fears, anger, uh,
Mhm.
joy. I mean, they know when we're happy and joyful too.
Well, I wanna go to one of those places set up where I can encounter a horse in a positive, therapeutic way, and I'm not gonna throw my leg over it, and I'm not gonna go anywhere, but I'm gonna have a communication
Uh-huh.
with a horse. Now, the other thing that you mentioned, which I love, 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 is friends of all ages. You said the sister you didn't have, the daughter you didn't have, the best friend. Is that not amazing? Having friends, tell me about that.
Well, I guess when I see people, I don't see age, I don't see social status, I don't see anything. I just take opportunities to visit with people, which is a kind of amazing being an introvert to strike up a conversation. Or, there was a gentleman I had to go to the pharmacy to get a potassium prescription 2 days ago. And the man, I asked him, I said, "Are you the end of the line?" And he said, "Oh, you can go in front of me." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm good to get behind you." Bobby is his name. And Bobby and I struck up a conversation. And he meningitis, he was just getting over it, finally able to drive. And just one thing that my dad always taught me is to listen. So many people are so busy thinking what they're going to say next that they're not listening. And so to hear a name and remember that name. And he got up there and checked out, and I was behind him. And when he got ready to go, he said, "Ma'am, I'll see you later." And I said, "Bye, Bobby. It was good to visit with you." And the look on his face that I remembered his name was just, priceless. And I think, you know what? Maybe that made some little difference in that man's life, that somebody heard him, remembered the conversation, even just a casual conversation. And that's just how it is. That's how I make friends with, people of all ages and ways of doing, just by listening and hearing them, and just thinking, wow, they've got a story. They've got something interesting that I would like to know more about. And I guess that same curiosity, reading, thirst for knowledge as I have gotten older is now branching out to interest in people.
So here we are. What one of the things I think is cool, besides knowing you, which is such a blessing, is that I know I'm in your fan club over here. Is that we can be on Zoom having this beautiful conversation, and you're in Indiana and I'm in Texas. And when I moved from Austin to Bowie, you know, I still keep up with all my friends on Zoom. And my wacky widow group, we meet every Monday at 9 a.m. on
Mhm,
Zoom and have for 6 years since Rodney passed away.
mhm,
They're
mhm.
my lifeline. And this technology, which I know a lot of older women go, "I don't like Zoom. I'd rather meet in person." I'm going, okay, me too. And there's a lot of people that I have access to through Zoom that I wouldn't have access through any other way.
Sure,
So
sure.
I think Zoom is cool. Okay. Here's your big shot. Here's Carolee Willoughby. You get your chance to know to don't hold back. If you were going to give people a word of advice, what would it be?
Have empathy and compassion. Be able to look at things from the other person's perspective. My dad taught me that. My dad was a very empathetic person. And that I see in society that we seem to be getting less and less and less empathetic and understanding. And when you can tell someone, I see you, or I understand your point of view, or tell me more about what you're thinking so I can understand it and appreciate it, people just you not necessarily light up, but they appreciate being heard. And the other thing would be, ladies, take care of your core. Get strong. Get strong in your core so you don't fall and break a hip.
You know, falling is the number one reason for mortality in women.
I do know that. I do.
Well, I have fallen since my hip replacement and my knee. So I had 2 hip replacements and 2 knee replacements. But boy, I really look for fall hazards. And, you know, I think it's great advice. You don't think falling is that big a deal, but it's life threatening.
It is. Mhm.
I could go all day, but I'm not. I'm going to just tell you, thank you so much. Not only for sharing your words of wisdom, but really who you are is what permeates the space, right? I mean, it's true for all of us. The reason I call this invisible glitter is I used to imagine just throwing invisible glitter up in the air.
Mhm.
When I do that, it changes the world for me. It changes my day. And it reminds me I have a choice in how my day goes.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to throw you some invisible glitter.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Earn
much.
it.
Thank you for being with me, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being with us at Invisible Glitter for Women Aging with Attitude and Sparkles. Go to pinkladyposse.com where you will find replays, links, and show notes. Want to know when the new episodes launch? Be sure and sign up for the glitter list. So join us and enjoy being linked into our community of bold, brilliant women who are redefining their next chapter together. Invisible Glitter is free to listen to and a proud founding podcast of the Liminal Network. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Share this episode and all of your favorite ones with a friend and on social media.